Yes, I remember the Memorial Day that we did 4 parades at once, and I think we did it once and we said, that's it, never again. Because it was we went to Danbury, we went to Brewster, we went to Richfield, and I think we went to Putt Lake.
During the years, the Corps has marched in various uniforms. The first one consisted of a white shirt, dark blue pants, black shoes and tie, and the American Legion fatigue hat. In 1930, the Corps purchased and wore doughboy-style uniforms, which were white with black cross belts and boots, and headgear of tin hats. In the late 30s, the Corps changed its style to a white cadet uniform with a white shako hat, black plume, and white shoes. The drum major wore the same colors, but his jacket usually was in reverse color of the Corps. In the 40s, the Corps decided it needed a second, or number 2 uniform, to wear when not using its full dress. Since it was turning out at more and more parades,
we had originally ordered a set of white cadet uniforms, and because of the war, the shortage of materials, we were not able to get the uniform. And so we went into a black Eisenhower jacket with white pants, and we had an overseas cap.
In the 40s and 50s, the Corps wore white jackets and pants with black crossbelts, black shako hats with white plumes, and white shoes. The color guard in the late 40s retired its black jacket and tin hats for the more modern look that the Corps had. In the early 60s, the Corps changed its second uniform to a black blouse shirt along with a black shako hat and plume.
We've had 2 or 3 different styles of uniforms. This newest one is a wash and wear uniform for these inclement days that we don't want to gamble with the new uniforms or the West Point style.
In the late 60s, the Corps added more black to the full dress jacket along with red and white piping. This and a red shako hat and belt led many of the members to affectionately call this the Penguin uniform. In the 70s, the Corps went back to the all-white jackets with black belt and red cord trim. From this uniform on to the present, red would become a more dominant color in the jackets and shirts. The Drum Corps colors being white, black, and red. In the 80s and early 90s, the Corps wore all-white dress uniforms with a red sash and drop, red shako hats and plumes. Since the late 30s to the present, the Corps has worn white shoes with black heels and soles. In the early 80s, the Corps dramatically changed its number 2 uniform to a white shirt with red stripe and black trim. But the biggest change came with the pants. It was the first uniform the Corps had with black for the color. In the 90s, the Corps added more red to its blouse shirt and added a black stripe. The pants remained black, with a white stripe down the sides. During the years, the Corps has also marched in casual dress, as shown here in red jackets. Also one year, the color guard marched in shorts when the weather was hot.
I personally I remember with the fatigue uniforms, or the second uniforms, the color guard for 2 years actually marched in Bermuda shorts. And that we can remember. That didn't last very long. We got a little older and a little hairier.
The Corps currently wears this dress uniform. In 1943, the Corps had a repertoire of 8 songs. Now it has twice that number. Among the more popular songs that have lasted through the years are the Thunder March, Washington Post, and IORM March. Some songs have been played, dropped for a number of years, and brought back. Since 1927, the Corps has played over 100 different marches, songs, and arrangements. Originally, the Corps had as instruments fifes, valve, bugles, and drums.
From that point, the horns graduated from the single valve to a three-valve instrument, which was basically a trumpet. And there was a period of time during the transition that the Corps used both bugles and trumpets. But eventually, the bugles were phased out, and it became an all-horn line with baritones and the normal trumpets. In addition, of course, they had fifes, bells, or glockenspiels, as they're technically named.
By 1953, the instruments consisted of fifes, bells, tenor drums, bass drums, cymbals, trumpets, and newly purchased baritone trumpets. Most music parts were written with just the melody, with some second and third parts for the trumpets. Songs such as Colonel Bogey, Beer Barrel Polka, Rocky, Anchors Away, and Medley USA were some of the more popular songs. The Corps lately has adopted a more modern sound, with songs such as Phantom, Olympic Spirit, Prince of Thieves, and Malaguena. More emphasis has been put on various instrumental arrangements.
I feel that music is important for not only the organizations that may hire our services, but also for the members. There's a period that you have to enjoy what you're doing. And when you're playing the same kind of music constantly, it becomes trite and it's boring.
A very popular event held by the Corps is the annual awards banquet, held at various locations each year. The awards at one time were given out at the Memorial Day breakfast, but because of time restraints, banquets in April were deemed more appropriate to award the recipients. During the evening, trophies are given out for perfect attendance, years of service, section of the year, and other deserved awards. Spouses, girlfriends, relatives, and guests are always invited. The highest honor to come out of this banquet is the 100% Attendance Award, which a member attains after marching in all parades and turnouts in the past year. Another highlight is initiation into the 20-Year Club, if a member qualifies. The 20-Year Club was organized in the mid-60s for members that had completed 20 years of active service. Any member attaining this goal automatically is inducted.
The 20-Year Club, yeah, I think that would be a definite goal for anybody in the Drum Corps, not just myself. Just reaching the peak of being in the Drum Corps with other people that have been around even longer than you. But 20 years is a fascinating goal to achieve for, to strive for.
The 20-Year Club is strictly social. However, when called upon by the Corps, will always help, assist, or give advice to better the good and welfare of the Corps. If you take 3 miles as an average and multiply it by 25, which would represent the average parades the Corps participates in each year, members would have marched 1,500 miles, which is the equivalent of marching to Dallas, Texas. And if you were to be in the club for 40 years, it would be like marching to Los Angeles, California, which is about 3,000 miles.
I'm a year away from the 20-Year Club. When I was a boy, it always seemed like a long way away. And my father always told me when I was younger that the guys in the 20-Year Club have all the wisdom and I should listen to what they have to say.
The club currently has 22 members, with 7 previous members deceased. The motto being Old Reliables, a very appropriate title for this very dedicated group. In the 40s, the Corps sponsored many fundraising shows that were held in the Elks Auditorium on Main Street. Many were minstrel shows, as shown here on the stage. But among the most popular of shows was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, a satire that was presented and acted out by corps members dressed in various humorous attire. Many times, another corps was invited to practice with us. The Greenwich American Legion Drum Corps repertoire was similar to ours and often came. It was one big jam session.
Drummers are a unique group. As everybody knows, we are probably annoying to some other people in this corps because we like to drum a lot. We may drum at unopportune times that people would like to sit down and talk, and drummers are drumming along. As far as the weight of a drum is heavy, and a drummer never gets a break. And there's always one thing to remember. You've heard drum corps, they got fife and drum and bugle. So you always got to have a drummer.